Able to understand the language. It's old English. It's old English language. It's Shakespearean English. Okay. So hello everyone, a very good morning. So guys, today we are going to see the trends of the questions that are being asked in GS paper 3 of UPSC. We have already made a video in which I explained all the questions that came from the economics section in GS paper 3, and I told you that how you should have written the answer or how to write your answer, what should be the strategy, what are the tips. All these things we have discussed in very elaborate fashion in our previous video. Today, we are going to analyze the trend, the pattern of UPSC in GS paper 3. That in what topics UPSC focuses on, majorly we are talking of economics. What are the important parameters that we have to consider, which topics we have to go and analyze till depth. So all these things and what all we can expect from UPSC in the upcoming years. Okay, when you are going to appear for the paper, all these things we are going to study and we are going to observe today. Okay, so let's get started. It's going to be very informative and interesting. So see guys, first of all, this is a question that was asked in 2023, 150 words, 10 marks. The question is, Faster economic growth requires increased share of the manufacturing sector in GDP, particularly of MSMEs. Comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. See, guys, there are several aspects hidden in a single question. Okay, what the question is trying to say, first of all, understand the year is 2023, and at this point of time, a special focus was laid on the manufacturing sector. Government was working hard to promote Make in India concept. Okay, so this question covers that aspect or policy of the government, that comment on the present policies of the government in this regard. In which regard? In the regard of manufacturing in India, in the regard of Make in India. Okay. Secondly, it is saying that if you want to grow rapidly, okay, growth rate can be determined by the GDP growth rate, obviously. So if you want to increase your GDP, what is actually GDP? Gross domestic production. It talks about the total production done in a country in an year, right? So if you want to increase your production, so production of services is there. You must be aware that most of the portion of GDP is comes from the sector of service. Okay, service is the major contributor in our GDP. But what we are trying to achieve is, what government is trying to do is, we want to increase the share of manufacturing as well in our GDP. We want a legitimate amount of contribution from manufacturing sector in our GDP. So for that, we have to strengthen our manufacturing sector. We have to remove certain hurdles, policy hurdles in the operations, taxes, all these things we have to look at, and we have to remove and eradicate them so that manufacturing sector can flourish. And this can be done in a very planned and step-by-step method, where MSMEs play a very important role, micro, small, medium scale industries. Because if government starts building our MSMEs, see, first of all, the MSMEs do not require a lot of investment. Yes, it requires heavy investment, but in comparison to other heavy industries, MSMEs comparatively require lesser amount of investment, right? So investment is not that high. Point number one. Point number two, the benefit of MSMEs, it is the source of employment for a lot of people belonging to rural and towns. Okay, belonging to rural areas and to the towns. MSMEs provides employment to them. Thirdly, it gives opportunity for the people to move from the agrarian setup, that is from the agricultural setup, to the manufacturing setup, so that their life standards can improvise. Okay, and to shift to MSME sector, to work in MSME sector, unlike services, because to be employed in service sector, you have got to have a certain set of skills. Get my point? You should be proficient. For example, if you are a software engineer, so you got to have a particular skill set. That is, you should be an engineer. Software engineer, you have to spend 4 years to acquire the degree of BTech. Then you have to work for 1 or 2 odd years in some firm to gain the practical knowledge, and then you can develop the software. So you require a proper study training, plus you require on-field training as well. But such high skills are not required to work in MSME. Yes, skills are required, but in comparison to service sector, skills required are relatively less. So easily, an agrarian sector man, just by working a bit on himself, just by increasing his skills a bit, he can get employment in MSME. And by doing so, you see, he's not only raising the life standard or his life standard, rather, he's raising the living standard of his entire family and of the upcoming generations as well. Because now, the upcoming, he will educate his children, right? Because let's say he might have migrated from the village to a town, so better opportunities of education would be available in the town. So his children can educate. Means our balance of payment is going to improve. Yes or no? Because what is balance of payment? Balance of payment is export minus import, right or wrong? It is an account. So export minus import. If import is going to decline, balance of payment is going to increase. Yes. Are you understanding, everyone? Yeah. Right. So these were the certain crucial factors, important factors that you should have, or one has to write in such questions, okay, in this question particularly. After this, now you had to come to the government, that to make these things realizable, these are the steps taken by the government. For example, government started with PIL, production linked incentive, PLI, right? Government started with it. That means what government is trying to do? Government is trying to encourage the people to produce more, to shift to the manufacturing sector. And government is going to give incentives on production. Then government also started giving subsidies, certain important goods or certain essential goods that are quite crucial for our country to increase their production. It might be possible that people or the firms do not have that much money that they can produce these goods in bulk. So what government did? Government started giving subsidies to these producers that you keep on producing. We are going to take care of the financial aspect. We will give you subsidy to produce it. That was also a welcome step. Third, government decriminalized so many acts. So many commercial acts were there, guys, and they were regarded as a criminal offense. For example, if an owner of MSME took a loan, private loan, and he was not able to return it, something like that, then it would come under criminal offense. So many such acts were abolished by government. They were decriminalized. They were removed from the criminal aspect. Okay. And they were again brought back to the civil. Fine. Government also lowered the taxes. Right. In the previous budget, government also said that in order to encourage employment and to lower the burden of the employer, government is going to contribute in the provident funds of the employees for the 2 years. So all these were the steps that were taken by the government. Okay. So in this way, you could have written your answer. Okay. So from here, what we observe, what the takeaway is, that manufacturing, a question was asked from manufacturing sector, particularly due to Make in India program. Okay. And Make in India, guys, is still very relevant. Okay. This year GS paper has been conducted, but for next year as well, Make in India program is very important and crucial. Okay. Especially after the advent of Trump and the tariffs that are being imposed by the Trump. And you must have heard that after Trump imposed such tariffs, Modi ji in a public meeting, he said that we have to rely more on our indigenous goods rather than imports. And he asked and urged the people of the country to purchase from an Indian, purchase Indian goods. So what actually he is trying to do? He is trying to increase the demand of Indian goods. Because Modi ji has a very big line of followers, and that's good that people, if people of a country listen to its PM, it's good for country. So he's urging the people, he's urging the common mass to avoid purchasing foreign goods, foreign clothes, foreign food, rather substitute it with Indian goods, thereby increasing the demand for Indian goods. And guys, when the demand of Indian goods will increase, then what will happen? Obviously, if more goods are demanded, they will be manufactured in the greater quantity. So again, it will give a boost to manufacturing. Fine? Okay, moving on. Next is again 2023, 10 marks, 150 words. What is the status of digitalization in the Indian economy? Examine the problems faced in this regard and suggest improvement. So first of all, they are saying that if you talk of digitalization, so how important is digitalization for Indian economy? What is the impact of digitalization in Indian economy? So see guys, again, this question covers many points that could have been incorporated here. First of all, UPI, your Paytm, phone pay, all these apps that you use for money transfer. So you could have illustrated this point that due to digitalization, the UPI segment has propelled and is getting prosperous day by day. More and the influence of UPI is also far-fetching. More and more people are now using UPI. Even the small shop owners, they also now accept the payment in UPI. This has got again several impacts. First of all, now this would incorporate or this would align more and more people to the formal economy. बहुत सारे लोग formal economy से जुड़ेंगे, they will be the part of formal economy. Okay, and when they will be the part of formal economy, because to get transfers from UPI you got to have a bank account, right? So if we go 6-7 years back, so the scene was that many people, they tried to avoid or they were tax evasive. They did tax evasiveness. They did not want to give tax, and for that what they did was they did not uh, they didn't do transactions from their banks. Okay, bank transactions were not done, things were handled in cash, thereby forming a parallel economy which was not the part of the formal economy, and it has got many repercussions. It has got many bad effects to it. How? See, if a certain segment is not the part of formal economy, then that segment will not be affected by the policies of RBI. So if RBI is trying or taking steps to remove inflation, a particular 30, 40, 50, whatever the percentage is, it will not be affected by those policies of RBI, or to counter deflation, it won't be affected. Getting my point? So it is necessary that more and more people become the part of the formal economy. In this way, the revenue receipt of government is also going to increase. More tax collection would occur. Getting my point? So the first impact of digitalization. Second, see, by opening the direct, by opening the accounts of the people, and now government is directly transferring the money or subsidy, whatever, to the accounts of the beneficiaries. DBT, direct benefit transfer. This again, this again alleviates the problem of middleman, right? A lot of money got wasted because middleman used that money. Beneficiaries or the people who needed that money, they were not getting the help, the essential help, and government was providing that help. Still these people were not able to get this help. Why? Because middleman. The leakages problem, this leakage problem has also been resolved to great extent by the use of DBT. Getting my point? And how come DBT? Just by digitalization, right? Then due to digitalization, internet, mobile connectivity, it is reaching even the far edges of the country. It is going even to the rural areas. Now if you go to a village, you will observe that every household has got one mobile and they are using internet. This will increase their information because today we are living in the era of information. Getting my point? They will get more skillful, they will get connected to their surroundings, and they will acquire a sense of what is happening around them. Getting my point? So in this manner you could have elaborated this answer. Getting? And then it says the problems faced in this regard. See guys, the first problem or the first challenge is that we are a big country, okay, and there are many areas which lag still, even today they lack basic amenities. So it is very tough to provide the benefits of digitalization to such people, to make them aware of the technology. It is a task in itself. You have to give them a proper education, you have to spend certain amount of time with them to teach them how to use mobile, or to tell them what are the benefits of using mobile, because they will question you, why should I use mobile, my life is all fine, huh? So you have to, so proper training is required, that too on a large extent, and this can be done only by the government. training to such tribal people, training to such rural people, so that they can also get and the chance to grow and they can contribute in the advancement of our country. Are you understanding? Right. So this is important thing. Okay. Secondly, see, as I told you earlier, that people are not that educated. Many places there is no internet facility, and it is the infrastructural challenge for the government. Second thing is that there is a threat of fraud. There is high risk of fraud when you do such payments or when you transfer money and all. So we have to develop a mechanism where we can reduce these anti elements, these cyber criminals from committing faults or from stealing your money, to be precise. Okay. So still we do not have any such strong law. There is a cyber attack laws are there, but on ground things are quite different. Nobody takes such crimes very seriously. I am talking of police. Even police doesn't take these sort of crimes seriously. So a temperament has to be shifted. All these things can be done or would be possible only by the channel of proper training. Okay. Anyway, so here the takeaway is digitalization. Okay, guys, you should note these topics. These are the major topics, and you'll see as we get completed with the session that again and again questions are asked from these topics only repeatedly. Okay, so first was manufacturing, second is digitalization. Third, the expected topic 15 marks, 250 words. As I always tell you, that 150 words means 10 marks, 15 marks is 200 to 250 words. So again, 15 marks, 250 words. Most of the unemployment in India is structural in nature. Examine the methodology adopted to compute unemployment in the country and suggest the improvements. Unemployment is structural. What is the meaning of it? The meaning is that it is not like today that someone, his family, entire family has got job, they are working, everything is fine, and an individual suddenly well educated gets unemployed. No. First of all, there are 2 points that we have to reflect here. First is that it is actually the failure of the system, it is actually the failure of the government that people are unemployed. This is the structural failure. The economy that we are living in, the structure that we have set up, that structure is failing. That is why so many people are getting are unemployed. People belonging to working age, the youth, particularly the youth, today's youth, 42% is unemployed. And guys, when I say unemployed, I do not mean people who are studying. Okay, unemployed means that they can be the part of workforce, they are efficient to work, they want to work, but still they are unemployed. Getting my point? So government has to take certain steps in this direction. First of all, see, there is a problem with Indian thinking, and that problem is that most of the people, they want to acquire government job. They want government jobs. But we have to understand the constraint here as well. Government cannot provide that many jobs because there are certain number of vacancies in government and there are certain other factors like reservation and everything. Government has to pay attention to that as well. So not everyone who aims to become a government officer or government employee can become government employee or government officer. Okay. So if not government jobs, then what? Then there is another sector called private sector. But again, in private sector, you require in today's time, you require a very high set of skills to get employed in private sector. and you'll have, it has got certain challenges associated with it, and you always have to be on your toes to flourish and thrive in the private sector. People do not want that. People just want to work for 1, 2 or 3 years hard work, and then they want to acquire government job, and then they think that rest of their life they would just lie down, lay back and enjoy. So that's the mentality, Indian mentality, the mentality prevalent in the society. So we have to first of all change this thinking pattern, and we have to develop a sector, private sector, where such people, not very high skill, normal skill people can also get jobs, and efficient jobs, appreciable jobs by which they can take care of their family. So this structure we have to change. We have to develop things in such a way that opportunities can be available for everyone. If there is an opportunity for highly qualified and skilled worker, then there should be an opportunity in the country for semi-skilled worker. There should be an opportunity for unskilled worker. Everyone should get the job. Now, depending on their education, qualification and skill set, the jobs can be different. Hello, I'm not asking everyone to be an engineer, to be a scientist. No, if someone can stitch the clothes, then he should get an opportunity to work as a tailor. Yes or no? That's the cumulative responsibility of the government and of the people living here. It's the responsibility of the economy. Getting my point? So we have to develop such a structure. So all these things you could have mentioned here, okay? And what all can be done to improve. Now see, when they ask you about improvement, any such thing is asked, your suggestion, improvement. So here you have to be a bit cautious. Do not start quoting or saying things that are in pragmatic. Talk pragmatic, things that can be realized. So the best way to answer this part of improvement is that the problems that you told in the previous section or the previous part, earlier in the answer, you were telling the problems now that these are the problems, the structural problems. Just try to give solution of those problems only. Do not bring up anything new out of the box. The problems that you wrote in the earlier part of the answer, try giving improvement methods for those problems only. Don't come up with another problem. Got my point? जो पहले बताया आपने उन्हीं प्रॉब्लम्स का सॉल्यूशन बता दीजिए. That is best. Okay. So here what we see, question from unemployment. Next, it is saying distinguish between care economy and monetized economy. How can care economy be brought into monetized economy? Through women empowerment. See guys, when you talk about care economy, so I think most of you got it, they are actually talking about welfare economics, okay, where government takes care of those who do not have that much privilege or opportunities. Okay, and government is doing such things. Government is providing subsidies, government is giving free ration to 80 CR of the people. Okay, so all these steps you could have written and you could have explained what is care economy. Okay, monetized economy, capital economy, capitalist economy, where market force run the market. Okay, forces of demand and supply, where government does not intervene. Getting my point? And it is essential for the growth. Okay, it is essential for the growth. Now he is saying that how can both of these be culminated, combined together? See, and then they are saying by women employment. See guys, this is very important part. And again in 2023 in the budget, government discussed about the women empowerment. So the question came revolving around it. See, what can be done here is that if government develops certain scenarios for the women empowerment or for the women employment, then what's going to happen? See guys, the first thing that will happen, that the burden that is there on the family, because only male is earning, right? Father is earning. Now father has to provide for the children as well, or as well as for his wife. Okay, so if wife will also get the job, she can contribute and she can help her husband and her children. Now when the financial status will improvise, then what's going to happen? The children can get education from a better institute, they can go to better school, more facilities and options will be available for the children, yes or no? And if mother is employed, if mother is observing what all is happening in the society, if she is going out of the house, then mother, see guys, the next generation, the children, they are brought up by mother only, right? And if mother has got the exposure, she can share that exposure with her children, providing them very meaningful and wisdomful insight, thereby providing for the better growth of our children. And when this will happen, obviously, then the burden on the government to take steps for the welfare is going to reduce. Getting my point? Yeah. Okay, guys, you'll have to excuse me for 4-5 minutes. Huh? I'll be back, and then we are going to continue. Just a minute. Okay, everyone. So I hope you understood this thing. This next is economic growth in the recent past has been led by increase in labor activity. Explain this statement suggests that growth pattern that will lead to creation of more jobs without compromising labor productivity. See guys, in this, just yeah, in this question, when they are talking about the increase in labor productivity, see, so production is the function of labor and capital, right? That is production function. So if labor, that is the factor of production, if the labor is going to be more productive, if the activity or of the labor is going to be more, obviously production is going to increase. Fine. So now they are saying explain this statement and suggest that the growth pattern that will lead to creation of more jobs without compromising labor productivity. So first of all, the question is that how the labor productivity is going to be compromised. See, this is very what to say, practical thing. It is happening in our day-to-day life. Yeah, productivity of labor is getting compromised. How productivity of labor is getting compromised? See, the present job scenario, 9 to 5, whatever. So here the emphasis is more on the regularity rather than productivity. A country can become more productive if the factor of production, for example labor, is being used to its fullest, rather than that country where laborers are actually working like laborers in layman language, right? It should not be like that. How can this be done? This can be done by the incorporation of advanced technologies, by imparting skills to the labor, by making our unskilled labor into skillful labor, turning them into skillful labor. We can achieve all these things. So again, a question related to employment. See, I told you the trend will repeat. Okay. Next question. Do you agree that Indian economy has recently experienced V-shaped recovery? Give reasons to support your answer. Do you know what is V-shaped recovery? We were going like this. Pay attention. In terms of GDP growth. Then in Corona, our GDP became negative, dip. And after Corona, we recovered and we are recovering. We are in the recovering phase. So this is called V-shaped recovery. Okay, so if you take along the axis here, you take time period. So this is 2020. And here you take GDP growth. So here our GDP growth became negative minus 1.8 something. Then we recovered. Fine. See, the question is from 2021. Pay attention. Question is from 2021. And at that time, India was in the recovery phase. So that's why this V-shaped recovery became an important part. So what do you understand? That questions will always be asked in economics, GS paper 3, in reference to the situations, in reference to the current situation. So whatever is the current situation, always questions or most of the questions will come from that part only. Remember this thing. That is why it is said to read newspapers, so that you can be aware of what all is going on in the economy. That's the importance of newspaper. Okay. Anyway, so this was an easy question, could have been written. Anyway, explain the difference between computing methodology of India's GDP before the year 2015 and after the year 2015. After the year 2015, Now we are taking GDP at market price. Nominal GDP we take in computing GDP. Before that it was GNP. Okay, now we consider GDP at market price. Again the question of 2021. Anyway, 2020, explain the rationale behind goods and service tax. See, 2020 is a question related to GST. Compensation to States Act of 2017. How has COVID-19 impacted the GST compensation fund and created new federal tensions? Pay attention, guys. This was a hot topic of that time. What government said was, government said, pay attention. You all know that GST came in 2017. Okay. Before GST, there were several taxes, several indirect taxes collected by both state government and central government. And the share of money that was collected was more for state government. That means the state government collected more tax via indirect taxes in comparison to central government. So when all these taxes were removed and a single tax called GST was launched, so states suffered a major loss because their revenue declined, because so many sources of income they were having from various sort of taxes. Now all these taxes became null and void. So the revenue of states declined considerably. So states raised this objection with the center, that how are we going to cover up for it, because you are cutting down our revenue source. So center said that, listen, the thing is, we agree that for the starting 4-5 years the ride can be a rocky ride. That means things will not be that smooth, but in long term, if you talk about long term, so GST will be more beneficial for you. Even not only it will be beneficial for the people, but it will be beneficial for state as well as for the center. It will be beneficial for everyone. In short term, it will have impacts, negative impacts. So states said that, okay, we agree with it and we also want the welfare, but the problem is that you are center. You have got lots of funds and very less amount of responsibilities or expenditure. We have got very limited source of funds and very high expenditure to bear. Yeah, that's what happens. That's what we call vertical imbalance. That's why finance commission is formed. Yeah. So how can we take care of these expenses if we are not going to get the sufficient amount of revenue? So state said that, okay, for the 4-5 years, what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate that what was the exact revenue that you used to get, that states used to get. Okay. And I'm talking of every state. And what is the revenue that you will get via GST this year? So what was the revenue that you used to get earlier until 2016 from indirect taxes, and what revenue you will get from GST this year? Whatever is the difference that I am going to give. Whatever is the difference between the two, your earlier revenue and present revenue, that I am going to give. Plus, so state said, okay, that's agreeable. But again, the thing is, what about our loss? You are suffering this much loss every year, you are just compensating. But if I would have lent out that money, I would have got interest. You are going to compensate next year, or am I going to meet out with that? So state said, okay, I'm going to give you the interest also, don't you? Okay, so that's what you mean by compensation funds. Guys, no one is saying anything. Huh? Fardeen, Malay, everyone. Is it clear? Everyone? Yeah. Are you following? So this is called compensation fund. And now what happened was that when after the advent of Corona, now state had to face so many problems of its own. That means center had to face so many problems of its own. So center was not able to provide with this compensation fund for that year to the states. And that's why if you go to the 2021 and if you can get hold of the news clippings or the dialogues of the leaders of opposition, so whether it's Mamta Banerjee or Kejriwal, any other such chief minister, they are shouting and saying that the state is not giving us, sorry, that the center is not giving our money. I don't know whether you remember or not कि सेंटर ने हमारा इतना पैसा रोक रखा है, हमारा उधार है सेंटर के ऊपर. You must have heard, right? They are talking about this compensation fund only. Okay, fine. And that's why these federal tensions were created. Okay, moving on. Enumerate the indirect taxes. This is from 2019, which have been subsumed in the goods and service tax. Guys, there were so many, so many. To name a few, subsumed means they were merged with GST. So they are asking you to name those indirect taxes that became part of GST. Now those taxes no longer exist. Okay, sales tax, excise duty. Duty on production was called excise duty. Then your value added tax, right? Then your entry tax, moving from one country to another. Getting my point? Then your property tax, etc., etc. So many. Can write them. Also comment on the revenue implications of the GST introduced in India since July 2017. They were asking you that how much revenue and all were collected. It was actually given. The exact figures were given and the revenue collection was very low. It was less than what government expected for the starting years. Okay. So it came in your economic survey. So this question was directly asked from economic survey. So from here what we get, that economic survey of 2 years is very important. Direct questions are asked. And budget. Fine. Next, do you agree with the view that steady again 2019 again GDP? That steady GDP growth and low inflation have left the Indian economy in good shape. Give reasons in support of your argument. See guys, whenever such controversial questions are asked, here the best way is to go with the government. Okay, don't come in the criticizing mode. Right? No, this is the problem. No. They are indirectly asking you to praise the government. So here what actually you have to say is that yes, and yeah, by the way, GDP trends were fine after 2011. The from 2003 to 2011 golden years, and for 4-5 years we suffered from a bit of the stagnation that came in the banking system, rising NPAs and all. And but in 2017 and all, things started getting better. So yeah, GDP trends and low inflation were good things. You all could have praised it. This was in the support of government. Is inclusive growth possible under market economy? State the significance of financial inclusion in achieving economic growth in India. So first of all, we do not practice hardcore market economy. We actually practice mixed economy, right? And mixed economy, yeah. Inclusive growth means what? First of all, inclusive growth means growth of everyone. Growth should not be pertained only to a particular segment of the society. Rather, growth should be, growth is the right of everyone. Everyone, each and every citizen should taste the fruits of growth. That's what inclusive growth is. Then they are saying that if you talk in reference of Indian economy, so you have to talk about financial inclusion. Now guys, financial inclusion first of all means certain things. Financial inclusion means bank account of everyone. Yeah. Then insurance, health insurance, life insurance, right? Then credit facilities. People should be able to acquire loan whenever they want, and that too from the bank, not from the soothkhor or someone like that in your village. From the formal system they can get credits. So making more and more people part of these three, all these three is called financial inclusion. So that's why government opened so many free accounts, Mudra Yojana and all. Yeah. Then government started providing insurance also. Government also started schemes like Atal Pension Yojana and all, so that to insure the people. For credit, government started giving 10 lakh rupees of loan. Yeah, remember or not? You have not read policies? Yeah, till 10 lakh you can get the loan from the government, okay, to start your any small business or shop or whatever. Jan Dhan Yojana, yeah, all these things. So we do not know that normal man does not know that why government is doing these things. All these are the part of financial inclusion, three steps of financial inclusion. So government is taking part in it. Government is taking part in it. There is no problem with it. Okay, getting my point? Yeah, just a minute. Okay, got it, guys? So that's the part of financial inclusion. Okay. Next is explain the question of 2020, 10 marks, 150 words. Explain intra-generational and intergenerational issues of equity from the perspective of inclusive growth and sustain. Again, the concept of inclusive growth and sustained development. Okay, this inclusive growth came in 2022. So see, inclusive growth is an important topic. And again, sustainable development. Sustainable, there is a difference between growth and development. Growth means when the GDP is growing. Development means when the consumption is increasing, when the life standards of the people is improvising. That is called development. And sustainable development means that this procedure continues for a longer period of time. It should not be temporary, that living standards improvised and then they decline. No, it should continue for a longer period of time. Understanding? Next is, it is argued that the strategy 2019, again inclusive growth. Third question we are doing on inclusive growth. Two questions we did on employment, unemployment, then digitalization, growth and development. So these are the common topics from where questions are asked. It is argued that the strategy of inclusive growth is intended to meet the objectives of inclusiveness and sustainability together. Again, the same question you could have written it. Sustainability and inclusiveness, I've already explained it. Next is distinguish between capital budget and revenue budget. You know what is capital budget and what is revenue budget? There are two sort of things when we talk in terms of government. So for government, there are two things. one is revenue, another is capital. Revenue comprises of two elements, one is receipt, one is expenditure. So revenue receipt plus revenue expenditure combined is called revenue budget. Capital receipt plus capital expenditure cumulatively is called capital budget. Samjhe? Right. So first of all, what is the general essence of revenue? Revenue does not mean here what it means in layman language. In layman language, revenue means the money that you get, the collection, that is referred as revenue. But in terms of government, and I've told it also, revenue is something that is repetitive and for short term. Anything which is short term and repetitive comes under revenue, whereas capital, that is long term and non repetitive, that comes under capital. So now revenue can be of, so first of all, if we talk about receipt portion, so all this you had to explain here. When you talk about revenue receipt, so revenue receipt means earning of the government, and that too, these earnings will be short term. Second, they will be recurring, repeated again and again. Okay, short term, recurring, and these earnings are not going to reduce any asset of the government, nor is it going to create any liability for the government. That means government is not going to sell out any of its property, any of its asset, any of its shares or holdings in your revenue receipts, nor is government going to take any sort of loan, right? So no asset reduction occurs and no liability creation occurs. Example of revenue receipt, very common example, taxes, guys. First of all, both direct and indirect taxes are the example of it. Then non-taxes receipt, for example, the challans that government imposes, yes or no, the fee that government charges, right? License fee and all sort of fees, tender fee, everything comes here, okay, comes in it. And then the grants and all that government gets, all these things, non-tax, you can write it in non-tax receipt. Anyway, so that was revenue receipt. And in capital receipt, capital is receipt is long term and it is non-recurring. The example of and but two more properties in capital receipt, either asset reduction takes place or liability creation takes place. So that means in capital receipt, government is going to borrow the money. Government is also going to do disinvestment, right? Disinvestment means selling out the shares, assets, whatever the property government has. Okay, so that is capital receipts. Got my point? Then if you talk of, that was the portion of receipt, then there is another portion, expenditure. So revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. See guys, revenue expenditure has got the property that it is not going to create an asset, nor is it going to reduce a liability. So that means revenue expenditure is a operational expenditure that government has to incur in order to carry on with day-to-day operations. Okay, so the salaries, the pensions, the allotment of funds to the states, getting my point? Yeah, the payment of interest on the funds borrowed, all these things come under revenue expenditure. Whereas capital expenditure is that expenditure which either creates asset or reduces liability. So if government is repaying the loan, pay attention, government is repaying the loan, not the interest. Interest comes under revenue expenditure. So if government is repaying the loan, it will come under capital expenditure. If government is purchasing some company or government is building dams, roads, all these sort of things, everything is under capital expenditure. Here we have to be mindful that capital expenditure is good for the growth of an economy, whereas revenue expenditure is not that good. So the agenda of government is always to depreciate the revenue expenditure, and intensify and amplify the capital expenditure. That budget is regarded as a good budget of any country where capital expenditure has increased and revenue expenditure has decreased. Unfortunately, in this year's budget, yeah, capital expenditure increased, that's good. But this year, what we observed was that there was an increase in our revenue expenditure. Okay. And to reduce revenue expenditure only, the Act of 2002, FRBM Act, was introduced. Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. Okay. Anyway, so all these things you had to write here in 150 words. Fine. Define potential GDP. Potential GDP means, guys, that if economy is running in full employment mode. Full employment means that all the resources of economy are being utilized to their fullest. That means there will be no involuntary unemployment in the economy. Yes or no? Everyone who wants job and is capable of doing the job will get the job. If a firm can produce 1000 goods in a day, firm will be producing 1000 goods in a day. The key word here is that economy will be running in full employment mode. Write it down, full employment mode. Okay. People who have economics optional know that, but this full employment, you people should write down. If you will use this word, it will fetch you more marks. Fine. So what determines it? So what I said, that if firm can produce 1000 goods, it will be producing 1000 goods. Wastage will be nullified. All these things means potential GDP. The best the GDP can be. Okay. What are the factors that have been inhibiting India from, now again they are saying, what all are the factors that are preventing India from reaching out to its potential state? Yeah, there are several factors. First of all, the biggest factor is poverty. Because due to poverty is intergenerational. Particularly, I'm talking about intergenerational. The poverty transfers. Grandfather was poor, father was poor, and grandchild is also poor. It's getting transferred, transitioned from one generation to another. Okay, so poverty is a curse. It exploits the individual of his or her potential and divides the economy from realizing the potential of this individual, because every individual is what? Factor of production, labor. Yeah. So first thing that it does. Number two, second, lack of skilled workers. We do not have skilled workers here, and that's the problem of the structural faults in our education system. Okay, skills are not taught. Forget about school, not in the colleges. Graduates and postgraduates, okay, they don't have skills that can fetch them livelihood. The system, actually the system that we are following till date in most of the universities, 99% universities in India, the system is the system to produce clerks. We adopted this system from English, Britishers, because they framed this type of system because they wanted clerks, cheap clerks. So that's how they wanted to educate us. And we are still following the same pattern. That's why we are producing the clerks. And the best part is that computers have replaced the clerks. So that's why clerks are unemployed. What I mean is that until unless we change this system of education, we cannot produce skilled workers. Right. So we are producing parrots, they have mucked up the things, and clerks, we are not producing enlightened brains. Right. So second factor. Third factor, infrastructure is lagging. Connectivity is not proper. Sir, there is such a wonderful connectivity in New Delhi. New Delhi has got metro. How many cities in India have metro? So connectivity is lagging. Internet connectivity is again the issue. So logistics issue. The produced goods cannot reach the market, and if it reaches, the time duration is quite high. So third was infrastructural, fourth is logistic issues. Getting my point? So these and several other factors, they are preventing India. 10 factors at least you can write. No, it is of 150 words. Only 6, 7 factors and explain it. 4, 5 to I illustrate it. Okay. Next is the public expenditure management is a challenge to the government of India in context of budget making during the post-liberalization period. Clarified. Public expenditure management. What is the meaning of it? Public expenditure management means the expenditure of the government, not of the public. Okay. It is the expenditure of the government. Particularly after the post-liberalization, that is 1991-92 era, it is called post-liberalization, the era that came after the LPG reforms. That is called post-liberalization era after 1991-92. So what happened here was, guys, that government, it was required in liberalization, privatization and globalization that government is going to shrink itself from the market, and government will promote more participation of the private sector, right? So when government started drifting away, the first sector that suffered a lot was agriculture sector, because the subsidies and expenditure, public expenditure that government was incurring on agriculture, it declined. This is there in economics optional and paper 2, Indian economy, impact on agriculture after in post liberalization era, new policy, after new policy, yeah. So this reduced the subsidies given, and you can Google it and you can see the data that the expenditure that government used to do. Look at the percentage, not at the amount of money, because due to inflation, money spent is more, but look at the percentage. So earlier, before 1991, 92, or till the mid of 90s, the expenditure that was done by the government, and after or from late 90s till date, the expenditure that is done by the government on agriculture, it has reduced considerably. That's why agriculture started lagging. Anyway, and government had to manage it, because you cannot withdraw the funds automatically and things will be all be functional and very good. No, there were repercussions of it. That's why government had to. And why this expenditure reduced? Because see, instead of focusing on agriculture, what government adopted the methodology of was, it adopted the methodology of welfare. Government started spending more on welfare than agriculture, providing subsidies, providing rations, all these things. Okay. Initially, government used to focus more on agriculture. Okay. So you had to illustrate these things here. Anyway, next is, how does e-technology help farmers? So guys, agriculture portion. Both the questions are, that was indirectly related to agriculture. It is directly related to agriculture. How does e-technology help farmers in production and marketing of agriculture produce? Explain. See, this e-technology question is inspired by the platform that was launched by the government in 21 and 22, e-platform for the farmers to sell their produce. Okay, so the question is directly related to the policy of the government, where government launched a e-portal, and farmers could trade their wheat, rice, whatever, because there is huge requirement and necessity of mandis in India. We do not have sufficient amount of mandis. Mandis is a place where farmers come and they sell out their produce, right? So we are lagging in mandis. So government, and to establish mandi, is a long time process and it takes certain amount of expenditure. So government came up with the alternative. What government did was it launched e-mandi. Yeah, e-mandi. Electronic mandi government launched where you could sell off your produce. But again the problem is farmers are not that much educated. How can they use a portal? Even many educated people cannot use the government portals. You people are educated. Not all of you can make a reservation via going through the railway portal. You may find it very cumbersome, very boring, or whatever. So, how can a farmer use it? Will all farmers, marginal farmers, small farmers, will they have smartphones? And if they have smartphones, will they have internet accessibility? Yeah. So all those were the challenges in it. Anyway. Next is, what are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector? Again, agriculture. In India, discuss the issues raised by the World Trade Organization in relation to agriculture subsidies. Question has got two parts. First part is talking of the subsidies that are provided to farmers in India directly and indirectly. Indirectly, you see, first of all, if I talk about directly, so DBT, direct benefit transfer, is the subsidy given to the farmers. Sanctioning of loan, right? Priority sector, agriculture is kept as priority sector lending, and they are served with loans. Third, waiving off of loans. Loans were waived off so many times. So many state governments do it. Direct benefit is being given, or direct help is being given to the farmers in this way. Next, no taxes. Direct taxes are zero on agricultural income. No income tax on it. So all these and few more are the direct benefits that government gives to the farmers in order to promote agriculture. If we talk about indirect benefits or subsidies, urea, the bag is of 800, farmers get it for 200. Not only urea, all the fertilizers. Then high yielding seeds, farmers get it at 1/4 of the price or at max 1/3, not more than that. Okay, again, indirect benefit is given to the farmers. Electricity is free for farmers for agricultural purposes, done by government. Soil card, soil health card has been provided to the farmers where they can analyze that what is the health of the soil, and in accordance to that they can grow crops there. So all these were indirect benefits. So that was the first part. But you do not have to be emotional here. You do not have, it was not required of you to become too excited here or anxious. Just you should have written the first answer in at max 100 words, not more than that. 80 to 90 words would have been good. Because in the remaining 60 words, you had to talk of World Trade Organization, because the second issue that is being talked of here, this issue has been raised in World Trade Organization. What's the issue? World Trade Organization in relation to agricultural subsidies. See, this issue was particularly raised by Western countries. What Western countries were saying, that these Western countries were accusing the Eastern countries, or to put it in a better way, developed countries were accusing the developing or underdeveloped countries of giving subsidies to their agricultural products, or of giving subsidies to their farmers. So you might say, what's their problem? We are spending our money on our people. Yeah, if you do it domestically, that's good. But when you are giving subsidy and all these things, so the price of the agricultural produce reduces. Wheat and rice, still they are so cheap. Yeah. And when the price is so less, so big farmers will export. So when these goods will go to the international market, Their price will be very less in comparison to their counterparts from other countries. So wheat of India will be cheaper in comparison to wheat of US or wheat of UK. जैसे यूके में कुछ उगता नहीं है. Anyway, it will be cheaper. Fine. So these developed countries cannot compete with it. So our sales will increase, our exports will increase, and they are having problem with this because due to increase in our agricultural export, their export has declined. So they brought up this issue in World Trade Organization. And in economics option, we have studied it. There were several rounds that were held. Then these developing countries, they accused Western countries that you are teaching us. You did the same thing. You provided subsidies. You still provide subsidy and you are accusing us. Nothing was sorted. Okay. Anyway, so that's what they were talking about. Explain the change in cropping pattern in India in the context of changes in consumption pattern and marketing condition. Sridhan, millets. Here, the first time Chief Minister talked about millets here in the budget, not the Chief Minister, Finance Minister. And that's why they are talking about the millets indirectly. And when they are talking about the marketing and the eating pattern, so you could frame your answer in this way that today people do not want those foods which or those grains which are rich in carbohydrates. Okay, people want to feel light, they want such healthy grains that can help them to provide energy but cannot should be low in carbohydrate content, and millets or Sridhan, they provide a wonderful option for it. And government of India is promoting the cultivation of millets and so on, so on, so on. You could have written it. Got my point, everyone? Next is, what is integrated farming system? See, so many questions from agriculture. Integrated farming system, how is it helpful to small and marginal farmers in India? See guys, integrated farming system means that if you are having a small land, so obviously in a small land you cannot grow much, right? So what government is planning or what government is doing in some places in some places, that government is combining these small or marginal farmers. Let's say someone has got half acre of land, another farmer has got half acre. So on combining 10 farmers, 5 acre of land is there. So government will take away this half acre from all these farmers, and government will provide consolidated 5 acres to these farmers combined, so that they can cultivate there. And when they will cultivate there, the produce will increase. Okay, that's what they're referring to. Next is, what are the present challenges? Just a minute, guys. Huh? Please wait for 3-4 minutes. Let me have a glass of water. Okay. So it is saying what are the present challenges before crop diversification? How do emerging technologies provide opportunity for crop diversification? Guys, the problem of crop diversification is identified quite late by Indian system. The problem existed, but initially whenever a problem pops up, we do not realize the intensity of damage it can cause. We realize it with a span of time. What happened in India was that most of the farmers, particularly in North India and in South India as well, they started cultivating and growing wheat and rice. Mostly, most of them, majorly wheat in North and in South rice. Very few farmers were growing vegetables or fruits or any other thing, sugarcane, whatever. Few, very few. Major portion of the farmers, they were growing the same wheat and rice. Now, there are several impacts, negative impacts of it. First negative impact is that the health of the soil, the productivity or fertility of the soil is going to decline. If you grow same type of crop for years and years in a stretch, the productivity of such soil will decline. If productivity will decline, then your produce will decline, right? So what happened was, after decades, the production from the same field declined for farmers. Their fathers tilled in the same field, they produced more, and even after the technology, even after the use of high yielding seeds, these farmers are producing bit higher than the previous generation. Why? Because soil health has deteriorated. They should produce many times more than the previous generation, but they are producing 5-10% more. Getting my point? Point number two. Okay. Secondly, if everyone is producing same thing and supplying same thing, what will happen, guys? The supply will be so high that demand will be low. Prices are going to decline. So these farmers are not going to avail any profit. Most of the time, they will not avail any profit. They will sell their produce in loss. Because if you are not going to, for example, if farmer is, let's say a farmer is selling wheat grains for 20 rupees per kg, and I am a purchaser, I am a buyer, I do not like his price. I'll go to the next one, he'll say 15. I'll go to next one, maybe he'll say 12. Yeah, so many options, right? So the profit that should have been incurred by these farmers, it got reduced. Now, when the crop diversification will be, acha, third thing, if a farmer is growing same type of crops, a crop will last for 5 months or 6 months from the day of sowing till the day of plucking it out, only for 5-6 months. That's a period. What would happen for the remaining half year? Unemployment. Yeah, by crop diversification, you can reduce the unemployment. Okay, when you have, when you are done with one type of crop, now you can sow another type of crop and so on. Secondly, the soil health will improve. Thirdly, you'll get more rates if you get more profit if you are growing vegetables, fruits, all these sorts of things. Okay, and how new technology, as I told you, soil health card, it tells you what all you can grow here. So many fertilizers are available which can help the farmers in producing the desired crop. Yes or no, guys? So all these things could be done to achieve the desired results. Got my point? Next is, how and what extent would micro irrigation help in solving India's water crisis? See, guys, this is again an inherent problem with Indian agriculture, the problem of water supply, the problem of proper irrigation. Even today, most of our farmers are reliant on monsoon. Getting my point? Therefore, irrigation plays a very important role because you cannot be dependent on the weather conditions, right? Weather can change. Hello, rains can be delayed, monsoons can be delayed, or the monsoon can be very thin. You may not achieve the required amount of rain for your crop. So what will you do? Yeah, that's why irrigation is so important. By micro irrigation, we mean here that for group of fields or for a particular field, see, irrigation systems are very huge. Micro irrigation means small equipments or small measures that are being taken for the irrigation of a particular field. So if every field has got its own irrigation system, the entire problem is going to be eradicated. And there are so many modern irrigation techniques which provide with the same. Okay. Next, what are the main constraints in transport and marketing? Again, the question related to logistics. We have discussed it. The repetition occurred 2020. The problem is that farmers do not have connectivity from farm to the market. As I told you that mandis are in scarce. So, a mandi, the nearest mandi where farmers will go and sell out their produce, the nearest mandi for a farmer can be in the next city, 200 kilometers away, 150 kilometers away. So, this farmer understand the problems he will face. He will load his produce, he will hire some truck or something, and then he will carry his produce, he'll pay for the transportation, high prices. Then he will go to the mandi the next day. He will try to sell out his produce. It's not necessary that all of his produce will sell out. And these traders, the middleman, they wait for such opportunities only. They know that entire produce will not be sold out. Now in the evening, there is an obligation for a farmer, a small farmer. What is the obligation? If he goes back without selling all of his produce, he will have to carry it back. And if he will have to carry it back, he will have to pay for the transportation, a cost. And then he will have to bring it back again tomorrow. So he thinks, and he was, let's say, asking 15 rupees per kg for his rice. People were ready, these middlemen were ready to give him 8 rupees. So now the farmer will think, and in 15 rupees, farmer was just earning 1 or 2 rupees at max per kg. Now he will think that just for 7 rupees, I'll have to pay, because he is not that much educated, I'll have to pay 500 rupees in one go when I carry it back, and again tomorrow I'll have to pay 500 rupees to bring it back. 1000 rupees I'll lose. So sell it for 8 rupees per kg. Getting my point? So he sold it for loss. That's why he will never be able to recover. And he had taken loan. He was not the part of the formal sector. He has not taken loan from bank at 7 or 8% or 4% per annum interest. No, he has taken loan from the money lender of the village at 10%, 20%. I have seen it with my own eyes, sometimes 50% in a day. Sorry, in a month. I have seen 5% in a day. Money was lent out at, and how much money? 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. They lend it out and they collect it every day. It's still prevalent. Okay. So just imagine how is he, if he is not taking anything back home, he is just taking, not even able to recover what he invested, how will he pay to the money lender? Then money lender will exploit him. He will take his produce, he will insult him, abuse him, whatever. And this is a trap, debt trap, it will continue. What's the problem? The problem of logistics, which is not connecting the fields to the mandis. Getting my point? Yeah. Okay. What are the major factors responsible for right wheat seed? Again, the same question on rice and wheat. Rice wheat system a success. In spite of this success, how has this system become bane in India? Guys, this is taught. I teach this in class. They have just twisted the question. You can you take a dig at it? Why rice and wheat production increased so much in India? Why it became successful? Huh? It was not so successful before 1970s. What happened suddenly in late 60s and 70s? Green Revolution. In Green Revolution, there were high yielding seeds. High yield for what? High yield for wheat and rice. Scientific seeds were developed which can increase the production of rice and wheat. Okay. Why? Because India was facing the crisis. We were importing the wheat. So we had to come out of that situation. So we developed those seeds which could increase the production of rice and wheat. And hence, farmers adopted to these seeds. And since then, they are producing rice and wheat. So Green Revolution was the factor that led to the success of wheat and rice production in India. Then they are saying, in spite of this success, how has this system become bane? It has become cumbersome for India. The previous question. Yeah. Crop diversification wala. People are not diversifying crops, they are only growing rice and wheat. Due to which, all the things that I told you, soil health deterioration, income deterioration, all the factors that I said, you can explain it here. Okay, next. Again, agriculture. Suggest measures to improve water storage and again irrigation. And irrigation system to make it judicious use under depleting scenario. Do not get carried away by the word. The meaning is quite clear. Depleting scenario means what? The situation is becoming worse and worse day by day. Ground, acha, I am not sure whether you know or not. 70% of the groundwater in India is used for more than 70% is used for agriculture. You know that? And that water gets wasted. That's why our groundwater table is declining at an alarming rate. If there is proper irrigation system in the for the fields in the country, if there is a system for it, this depletion, fast depletion of groundwater, and by the way, groundwater table is the drinkable water. That's the water you and me drink. If it's going to deplete at such fast rate, the cities will turn into deserts. So it's a serious concern, and that's why government is taking steps. Government has launched policies also for the development of irrigation system. Proper channeling of it is also done. Next, how far again integrated farming system? Again the repetition. Next, elaborate the impact of National Watershed Project. National Watershed Project is the scheme launched by the government for irrigation. In the previous question, they were asking the name. Here they are directly asking from the name. Again, irrigation. What are the major challenges of public distribution system in India? How can it be made effective and transparent? DBT is the answer. In case of money, the distribution can be efficient by, rather than transferring the goods, you can directly give the money to the people, transfer it to their accounts. That's what government has started. Because you see, if you are going to provide with the goods or something like that, then middleman, there will be several leakages. Middleman is going to enjoy the perks and the deserving will not get it. So DBT can be one of the steps. Second thing, here micromanagement is required, but again it is a long-term and time-taking process. Yeah, by micromanagement I mean that government has to start from the village level itself, and not only from the village level, government has to make clusters of houses. For 10 houses, one individual is responsible that these 10 houses get the benefits which are being extended by the government. That Gandhian economy has to be followed here. You have to start from the rural areas. Okay. Next, what are the salient features of the National Food Security Act? How has the food security bill? So guys, here again the praise of government is required. Why? Because look at the year. Which year is it? 2021. When did government started? Modi ji started giving free food grains just after Corona. So it started. So they are referring to the 80 crore people getting free ration from the government. And this thing was first discussed in the food security bill, where it was said that everyone has the right to food. Despite of the fact you are poor, under BPL, below poverty line, whatever you have the right to get nutritious food, which can give you energy, which can give you health, which can give you sustainability. And government has to secure it, because government is the trustee of the rights that its citizens have. Government has to look after it. Government has to safeguard it. It's the responsibility of the government. People from quality must be aware. Government is held responsible. Government has to dispense your rights to you. Okay? And if you do not get what you deserve, you can go to the courts. So it is the right of the citizens to get food. And government has to ensure that people get food. That's what food security bill proposed, and Modi ji extended it by giving food to the people. Got my point? Elaborate the scope and significance of the food processing. Very important. You should write this topic. This is important topic, and in past 2-3 years questions from this are asked every now and then. So food processing industry. See guys, as I told you in the previous discussions, previous question, that so many farmers are producing same type of goods, same type of produce, and the produce gets wasted, it gets sold at a lesser price. Now here enters an industry that is called food processing industry. The jam that you apply on your bread is the product of food processing industry. The butter, Amul butter, part of food processing industry. Cheese, curd, flavored milks, jellies, so many products nowadays are the part of food processing industry. So if a food processing industry is set up, it will be a wonderful way of helping our farmers. Why? You can have, or you can look at the example of Amul. Amul changed the life of lakhs of women and thousands of households in Gujarat. Now it impacts entire India. It provided these people with an alternative source of income, dairies. You just have to pet a buffalo or a cow, and you do not have to bother. People of Amul will reach your door, they will take your milk and they will pay you. So you are getting income every day in your household. So your dependence on agriculture is going to decline. You do not have to take any sort of pains. Right or wrong? Yeah. It changed the life of so many people. Lakhs of people, millions of people, particularly women. And as we discussed earlier, empowerment of women means empowerment of next generation, plus a helping hand to the entire family. Right. In the same way, Amul is one company I'm talking of, rather not a company. Collaboration it is. Anyway, leave it. That's just the dairy sector. There are so many other sectors. Jammu and Kashmir is famous for its apple. If we can set jam, apple jam units, small units in Jammu and Kashmir, how much profit the people of Jammu and Kashmir will make? Just think. Huh? So much pain. We can save them from so much pain. They have to transport their apples from Jammu and Kashmir to all these places to the plains. There, they can transport whatever they require. Rest, this jam making company will come and it will collect it from them and it will pay them, thereby promoting the promoting the production of apples. Yes or no? If you move to Maharashtra, oranges, oranges, so many fruits of Maharashtra are famous. Such processing units can be applied there. Are you getting my point? It will give an alternate source of income to the farmers there. Dependence and reliability on the mandi is going to reduce. Now they can actually make the profit, they can prosper. So, such is the importance of food processing unit. Okay. Next, what are the main bottlenecks in upstream and downstream process of marketing of agricultural products in India? So again, guys, came from the agricultural portion, and there is a direct topic upstream and downstream processes. Okay, so the direct topic question, leave it. Now, what are the challenges and opportunities of food processing sector in India? Opportunities, I already told you. Challenges, we got to have capital for it. We need machines. We need technology. Presently, we do not have it. We need trained professionals, food engineer. We have so many IT engineers. Every year we are producing them. We do not produce food engineer. There are not, so education is lacking, structure of education. We do not provide such education. We, very few, know what food processing is even. They do not know any such industry exists. Very few, rare people go into such industry, and they are earning very well, by the way. because it is in scarcity and they do not need much skills. Hello, in comparison to other skills, where supply is so high, not much skill is required, but we are lagging the proper structure of it. So we have to establish the structure, right, starting right from the education, then skill development, then capital, technology. Who will do the investment? We require investment in this sector. Yes or no? Then we need to acquire lands. Government needs to acquire land, lands acquisition. So all these are the challenges. What my point? How can income of farmers be? I just told you. The same thing I just told you. Question is repetitive. They were asking how can the income of farmers be increased by food processing. Anyway, elaborate the policy taken by the government of India to meet the challenges of food processing. So what all government is doing for it here? You have to talk of the policies launched by the government, where government is providing production linked incentives, where government is giving subsidies to the on the production. If you are going to manufacture, if you are going to put the uh, if you're going to put the industrial unit of food processing, so initially government is going to help you in acquiring the land. Government is not going to impose any tax on you for 2 years, 2 to 3 years, depending on the size. Government is also going to help you in providing provident funds for your employee for 2 years. Government is going to pay on your behalf. Then government is going to give you incentives on based on the production that you are doing, right? All these things. Raw materials will be provided to you at subsidized rates. Electricity, certain units, till that units electricity will be at subsidized rates and in some places for free. So all these are the efforts and measures taken by the government to counter the challenges of food processing. Getting my point? Next is state the objectives and measures of land reforms in India. Discuss how land ceiling policy on land holding can be considered as an effective reform under economic criteria. See guys, if we talk about land reforms, it starts from 1950. Initially, the jamindars and major property owners, they most of the farmland belonged to such people. Government brought about the Land Reform Act, and these lands were, yeah, in some places it was done successfully, in other places due to the influence and reach of these jamindars and all, the scheme could not be brought into reality. But the objective was to take the land, and it was done at several places, and give it to the farmers, because the farmers were then the farm workers, farm laborers. They were working under or in the land of the jamindars, right? So these lands were given to them, and this gave to the rise to the new segment called as marginalized farmers or marginal farmers. Okay. After then, after that period, every time and then land reforms are made by the government. Presently, we have seen the integrated system of farming that is being encouraged by the government of India so as to increase the produce. Getting my point? Ceiling. What is the ceiling policy? Ceiling means government is going to acquire your land. Okay. You can possess, and there is a ceiling, there is a defined limit. You can have only that much of land. After that, if you have more, then government is going to take that land. Okay. So how is it helping? Yeah, it is extending this old thinking, old strategy that we have to give land to those who need it. So in that segment, it is helpful. Okay. So you could explain it, only 150 words were required. Huh. See again the land reforms, as I told you, it happened in some part of the country, how it helped in improving socio-economic condition. So socio-economic condition obviously improved. Now the farmers, the workers became the owners of the land. So obviously now they will get profits. The standard of living will improve. They might come out of poverty as well. Now see guys, this is one of the present trend and I want you to write this trend. And this is very important trend. Till now we have seen 5 or 6 segments from which questions are asked. One more segment. This is renewable energy and a very hot topic. Renewable energy, carbon taxes. This is a hot topic of discussion. And questions are asked from here. In prelims also they ask. They are saying that Modi ji announced that by 2030, 50% of our energy is going to come from renewable sources. So they are saying it is realizable. No, it is not realizable at all. Challenges infrastructure ही नहीं है, no infrastructure, not much investment. There is investment, people are going into this sector, but not that much, not up to the mark. Then lack of information, most of the people do not know. Okay, they lack information regarding it. Then people are uncertain about the returns, that if they invest in such sector, will they get any profit or not, right or wrong? So all these are the factors. How will shift of subsidies from fossil fuels to renewable help achieve the above objective? Now what they are saying is that, pay attention, this was a discussion amongst the policy makers. What was the discussion, topic of discussion? That government provides you subsidy. Yeah, in what? In LPG gas cylinder. What is LPG? Fossil fuel, liquefied petroleum gas. So instead of providing subsidy for fossil fuel, which is going to create pollution and it is non-renewable source of energy, right? If government starts providing subsidy for renewable sources, that will be sort of an encouragement for the people to switch on to the renewable sources of energy. Yes, it will give boost to people to switch from there to renewable source. So if government does that, will it be helpful in achieving 50% target? Yes, it will be a major boost. Yeah, and government is doing this thing in solar panels. Electricity becomes free, and if you produce this much, it gives you certain money. So yeah, due to this only now people have started installing solar panels. People who can, they are installing it. Getting my point? Investment in infrastructure is essential for more rapid and inclusive economic growth. Discuss in the light of India's experience. My dear, obviously, it is very much essential for the growth. And here you can add whatever I have been telling you from past 2 hours and 10 minutes. Logistics for transport, infra is required for logistics. Yeah, roads and all for transportation. Then you can bring that farmer angle. No transportation available from their farms to the mandis. Yes or no? Then you can bring the angle of jobs, that if infrastructure is good, if connectivity is there, then people can live in their town and can go and work in the cities. Yes or no? Let's imagine bullet train is there. Yes or no? Then people will not come to Delhi to live. They will live in Lucknow and all, and they can come to Delhi and work, and then at night again they can return. So this will also prevent crowding. Here in Delhi, so many have come. So this will prevent it. Yeah. And they can stay back with their family and will not create headache. So they can stay back with their family and their cost is also going to reduce. Expenditure, they will be able to save more money. And money saved can be money invested in the economy. Yes or no? Such a high requirement we have, right? Similarly, so agriculture, this job system, then you can talk of the education. We require so many good universities. We require new universities for new courses like renewable sources engineering, research on renewable sources is required. Hello, food processing, yes or no? Finance, there are so AI, so many segments are there, and we are lagging way behind. We can work a lot on it, right or wrong? Anyway, okay, fine. So I hope you can, right, and then you can talk about energy segment, so on, so on. There are so many segments. Why is public again scheme launched by government? Public private partnership required in infrastructural projects initiated by Nitin Gadkari. Examine the role of PPP model in the redevelopment of railway stations in India. They have already started giving railway stations. You know that? Anyway. So see, government does not have that much fund. What government can do under this model is government can circulate the tender. Individual who gets the tender, he can do the job. For example, for development of railway station, he can take the tender, do the job, and now government is not going to pay. So initial step was same as it used to be earlier, the tender thing. But whosoever is going to get the tender, initially he is going to invest from his pocket. Government is not going to pay because government is short on the government can use that fund for the development. Now that individual will invest of his own pocket. And once the thing gets developed, once the road gets developed, once the bridge gets developed, once the railway station gets developed, government will give him the collection authority for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Right. For example, if someone developed the road, so government will give him, let's say, the contract for 5 years, that for 5 years you will collect toll tax from this road. This will suffice for your investment on your profit. So in this way, government is saving its money. That money can be used at other places, and people can earn according to their efforts they put in. Right. So it's and they will get the opportunity to work with the government. More and more people will come up, and more people can be the part of it. Are you able to understand? So very beneficial. Okay. Anyway, last question from 2017. It is saying, explain the meaning of investment in an economy in terms of capital formation. Guys, investment means capital formation. Anyway, discuss the factors to be considered while designing a concession agreement between a public entity and private entity. Concession agreement is the agreement that is done for PPP partnership. The agreement that is done between public and private. Anyway, first let's talk about investment. See guys, here you have to explain what investment is. You have to tell investment is something that gives you a return. Okay, hello. And how? So see, you have to explain that with investment, either we purchase the assets or we purchase the capital. Capitals are basically those machines from which we are going to produce the goods. So this is further going to increase our production. Increase our production means our GDP will grow. Okay. So all these things you have to explain here. And then the factors while designing the agreement, there are certain factors, and these factors were mentioned in the economic survey, and it was also mentioned in the budget when government came out with this PPP schemes. That's why they asked the factor. In nutshell, I can tell you the factors were that first of all, both public and private should agree with the time period, right? That for this much time period, the private party should be ready to invest the money. Secondly, government has to make clear that for how long government is going to give the contract. Then government has to solidify the dates that by this date I want it completed. So all such things were here. Okay. So that's it, guys. We analyzed 7-8 years paper, and I think you got an idea that what sort of questions come in this GS paper 3. Okay. So thank you. Bye bye. Take care.